Good evening, folks. It's David Schlotthauer here in the home weather office. We are doing a live stream discussion, a special one, because, of course, there is a lot to talk about out there in the tropics. We have Invest 91L, of course, that's the biggest threat right now, possibly going to make landfall in Texas or Louisiana as a tropical storm or even a hurricane. By the way, let me know, folks, if the fan in the background is going over my voice a little bit. It has been a hot week here, and my room, of course, still gets hot. It is the 7th of September. Doesn't mean that my room is not as hot because the sun angle is lower. Still gets hot this time of the year. So if the fan is really annoying in the background, please let me know. I will be happy to turn it off. So what we have going on right now, of course, is Invest 91L. That's the biggest concern right now. That is the potential here for this to actually organize enough, become our first tropical or first named storm of September, not the first one of the Atlantic hurricane season. I mean, we could almost have a mini hurricane season going on here because we were so dead of that slumber lasting for pretty much a month almost after Ernesto. Now we are back in action here with the tropics. And what we have here is a lot of deep convection that is going on. I mean, all this bubbly convection, those are cloud tops of negative 85 to negative 90 Celsius. That's on the order of about negative 100 to negative 120 degrees. And you can see just recently, the satellite images here are now updating a lot more often. They're updating every 5 minutes now to give us better look at what the storm is looking like. And boy, this right here is quite enormous. Lots of deep convection on that storm. Very explosive. But the center is over here. So that's where we have our low-level circulation right now. It is removed from all this deep convection. But the center is moving this way towards where all this deep convection actually is. And I think once these two areas align, we're going to have a bona fide system that could quickly organize further and become our next named storm, which would be Francine on our list of named storms this year, our 6th named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. It's really hard to believe we have not gotten to 10 named storms yet. No double-digit numbers and just only one digit. Really quickly, I wanted to touch upon Invest 92L out there. Someone said in the comment section that we have now another Invest. That is not surprising. This is in the central Maine development region. And yes, this could pose a threat as it goes generally westward and west-northwestward. Now, there is a lot of ambiguities here with the modeling of where exactly does this consolidate. We don't have a consolidation yet to the surface low, but this is looking a lot more healthier than what we had with previous tropical systems over here. I mean, this area of the Atlantic has just not done well this year, and now it's coming to life a little bit more. So here's a look at the 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook, and this is kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to do this live stream tonight. Things are just kind of shuffling around and really evolving really quickly. I mean, and what I mean by that, we don't have 5 lemons like we had just 2 days ago. Remember the 5 lemon whole acronym, or the 5 lemon analogy? System here, system over here. There was 2 systems here. We had 1 over here. It just was all chaos. Now, there's not just 3 areas to watch, but there are 2 areas that could cause some problems. This one, my little guy over here, Francine, which will be Francine, that is the one that everyone is concerned about. I mean, this popped up very quickly, and that's the reality of this, folks. I mean, it is the peak of hurricane season. It literally is next Tuesday. Okay, like this coming Tuesday actually is the peak of hurricane season. So this is not unusual. It is not. But what is kind of unusual that we come back from this slumber and now we have 3 areas to watch on the map, and not just 3 areas, but actually something more productive than just little orange splotches, yellow splotches, even a red splotch over here. This, I mean, we could have 2 or 3 named storms now by the time we go perhaps through the 15th and the 20th of September. All right, so, excuse me. So first of all, the NHC is going to update this at about 11 o'clock tonight. I am not going to be up at that time. I actually have to get up pretty early tomorrow at around 6:30 in the morning. Doing a little bit of a memorial service tomorrow morning at our church. So therefore, I have to help out with that. So I am going to have to get to bed here really early tonight. So if people ask me that, can you just stay up and wait for the NHC to update, David? I am terribly sorry. I will not be able to do that tonight. But that's why you could also check out the NHC on your own time. But in the meantime, right now, we do have an 80% chance for this to develop into something a bit more significant than just a tropical depression, maybe a tropical storm or even a hurricane as it goes generally northward. And we can see that on this, on the graphic here from the NHC does pretty good at this. 91L has officially been designated. Now, the AL stands for Atlantic, so different regions get different areas. So in the Atlantic, it's AL. In the Eastern Pacific, it's E. All right, PE or E. I think it's just E. And then in the Central Pacific, it's C. All right, so it would be C90 or 90C. And then in the East Pacific, it would be 90E. And then in the West Pacific, it would be 90W. All right, and then I think in India, or in the Indian Ocean, I think it's 90A or something, or it's 90L, or I don't know. But they designate these areas for each basin. And what we have right now, we have 2 invests right now. It's not here on the NHC, but on Tropical Tidbits, it clearly is. So that's the area that we are really going to have to watch out there in the MDR and, of course, in the Gulf of Mexico. So now let me switch over here and let's look at our modeling, because a lot of you are probably wondering, what is going to happen with that GOM storm, Gulf of Mexico? Is it going to strengthen into a tropical storm? Is it going to become a hurricane like I mentioned in this last video, which, by the way, got 30,000 views? So thank you all for sharing that, liking it, and subscribing, because, again, we need to get the word out. Things are evolving very quickly. It's like chess pieces, right? You know, you may not be winning the game, then all of a sudden you make the wrong move, and then it's just a domino effect. So I do appreciate that, folks, for sharing, liking my last video. Because, again, at the end of the day, we're here informing you all on the quick chess pieces that are moving around. Or from the movie Jumanji, right? Like to have some acronyms thrown in there sometimes, right? So what we're looking at here is, I feel like the fan is distracting me, so let me turn it off really quick. There we go. Our fan is turned off. Okay, so what plot we're looking at here is, actually, I'm going to do a different plot system. This is going to be a little bit helpful because it actually has 3 things on it instead of just 2 things. Well, has 3 things, but only the upper level winds instead of, say, the surface winds. So what we're looking at here, and I know this is a little confusing, and I'm going to try my best at explaining this a little bit better. So the color, the rainbow colors that you see here, these purples, these reds, and these greens, indicate 5,000 foot level spin in the atmosphere. So is there any energy? Is there any rotation in the atmosphere to get something going, right? And so you can see, though, this is frontal based over here off the Carolina coast. So we're not going to worry about that. That's going to be moving out to sea harmlessly, not going to cause a lot of problems. But it's this down here where we have that area of spin. A lot of vorticity down here. We have an area of spin down here. Then we have an area of spin up here. And so these two are going to combine. And once they do, we're going to have not a superstorm, but we're going to have a more consolidated circulation. And so these rainbow colors show us how much spin there is in the atmosphere. And these blue lines right here, see these, folks? These are your height lines. This is a topographical map of the atmosphere. So if you think of a ridge like a mountain, right? So you're going over the ridge with your car, or you're going on the freeway, and well, in order to get to my friend's house, we have to go over the ridge and then come down from the ridge to get into the valley. And so what this shows us is where ridges are, higher mountains of air. Think about it like a mountain. And we have a trough of lower pressure, which means, well, lower heights, cooler temperatures, and more unsettled weather. In fact, some cooler air moving into the upper Midwest and the much of the United States right now, with some potential for water spouts over the Great Lakes because of how cool this air mass is over that area. Yeah, you can get still some lake effect rain showers this time of year, not snow, but you get the idea. We're getting that instability working its way. All right, and so this is the 3 plot. Now these wind barbs here show us upper level winds. So what are the upper levels doing at, say, 2,000 feet? So in other words, we're looking at a slice of 3 different layers, 5,000 feet, 18,000 feet, and of course, 34,000 feet above the surface. So this gives us an idea what's going to be happening without just looking at one little plot system or a plot system like this. This is only 1 layer, and this is 3 layers. So we can see here in the next couple of days, there is a mid-level ridge over Florida, southern Florida. And that's going to be the main guide of this system. That's going to help to allow the system to glide northward because we have this ridge that's going to be over southern Florida, over the eastern Gulf of Mexico. So there is no threat for this to turn mysteriously eastward and hit Florida. That's not going to happen in the situation. Just the pattern's not there for it. But instead, this trough that we have in this boundary, see all this spin in the lower levels? That's that decaying frontal boundary that's just kind of stalled out over here over northern Florida. And so what we have going on here is we have an area of spin that's attached to that boundary. And what's going to end up happening, this is going to go northward. So when we go forward, you can see where that ridge is actually going to be. This ridge is going to be moving southward a little bit, and you can see your upper level winds here coming in out of the southwest. So that's one of the reasons why this system is actually going to turn and be moving towards, say, southeastern Texas into perhaps Louisiana because of the steering flow. Actually, and let me get rid of my face here. I just realized my face was in parts of the image of Louisiana, so sorry about that. But we can see there is going to be area of disturbing weather for Texas and for Louisiana, and that is a pretty good vortmax that's going to be impacting Louisiana in about 5 days. And I want to remind you all that this is going to be moving over the Gulf for about 4 to 5 days, which means it has more than plenty of time for this to intensify at a pretty quick rate. But the good news about this is there are some negative factors that will not allow this to get to major hurricane intensity. That's one thing for sure. If we take a look at our wind shear or upper level wind pattern forecast, if this is actually going to load, come on, tropical tidbits, work with me here. You can see right now the background environment has lighter winds over it. So we have winds doing this, right? We have an anticyclonic ridge at 200 millibars. So there's no shear here to contend with. So theoretically, this system could really strengthen fairly quickly, right? But what's going to end up happening as this goes north, the southwesterly flow, and you can even see the background flow, the return flow, is going to hit this on the southern side. So now we're not really looking at a optimal environment that this would become a major hurricane. We could see at the strongest maybe a 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm with winds of 70 miles an hour, maybe, just maybe a hurricane with 75-mile-an-hour winds. But that, we'll see what our next model runs show. But right now at the moment, it is not looking oppressively likely that we're going to see some sort of a hurricane here. Probably a 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm is where I am looking, or where I'm kind of ballparking with the system. And that's because watch what happens here. Once the system approaches the, let me actually go and look at this a little closer for you all. You can see the southwesterly flow. This is not a zero sheared environment. There is upper level winds cutting across here. And in fact, there is no outflow, and all the outflow is going in one direction here. And this is not what you want to see. You want outflow in all quadrants. So you want to see something that looks like this, right? You want to see outflow in all quadrants for the system to breathe. And instead, here, we're not seeing that. We're seeing a more very asymmetrical look to the wind pattern up here. So therefore, there will be a ceiling on this. There will be a capped intensity. In fact, the 12Z run showed it a lot stronger because of the upper level winds here being a little weaker and arriving a little later. But now in this run, we have stronger upper level winds arriving on the system a little earlier, capping the system a little sooner. So instead of maybe a 75-mile-an-hour hurricane, we might just end up seeing a 60 to 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm. But nevertheless, it really will not matter a whole lot. There will be significant impacts. We're talking life-threatening flooding with this system. I talked about this in my 145 update this afternoon on my tropical outlook and discussion on how much rainfall is going to be falling over the Gulf Coast here. And even areas like Florida could get, or say Western Florida, might get almost a foot of rainfall. But yet, you're not getting hardly any wind here. You may not get very much wind at all, maybe 15 to 20 miles an hour at the very most. You're not going to get tropical storm force winds, but you're also going to definitely get a lot of heavy rainfall. And so right now on this run, it's not showing it very strong at all. We will wait and see what our icon model shows. But it in the last run, it has been shifting a little also further to the east. So we'll see what the next run shows if it goes back a little to the north or to the west again. But right now, we're looking at possibly a high-end tropical storm. Even so, the GFS here still shows a hurricane. But again, because of the upper level environment, I'm not superimposing myself and saying, oh, this is going to become a Cat 4 or Cat 5 hurricane because it's going to be over the Gulf for 5 days. But there will be some strengthening, and this should get its name, and it would be Francine on our 6-name storm of the season. Now, looking at the deep layer moisture plot, I have also used this quite a bit. So all this teal green color indicates a lot of moisture in the deep layer of the atmosphere. So it's kind of, let me better explain this. So if we actually zoom out and look at our water vapor imagery, it's kind of like looking at this. Let me get the last frames. So it's looking at, oops, come on, work with me, tropical tidbits. There we go. So all this dark gray color here indicates a lot of drier air. So the model, the GFS model, is picking that up. So let me go back to that, and you can see all that brown. So that means drier air, not so good for systems. And that's what we are continuing with right now. This is a stalled out boundary after all, and that is why you have the dissemination between drier air to the north, a lot of this green to the south. And as we go forward, I want to show you all this. Someone's getting a lot of rainfall. That's northern Florida. Okay, that's Tallahassee-ish area. That's the Big Bend of Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, Orlando, Florida, even Tampa, Florida up here. All of this green, that's a lot of moisture. That's a very saturated column of the atmosphere. That's actually an atmospheric river, to say the least. And if we look at our moisture or our rainfall, yeah, see, someone's going to get rain, even so the system's lurking way down here in the Bay of Campeche. Now, when we go forward, this moisture eventually does move onshore, and there's a lot of it. I mean, there's a lot of rainfall and a big moisture fetch here. But the good news is, even so you do get some really strong winds here on the backside of the system, there's going to be some drier air. So that means limited amount of moisture. So more of a wind deal, actually more of a wind deal if you're in the southern tip of Texas than, say, a big rain deal. You're going to get some rain early on, but it's not going to last as long as areas like, say, southeastern Texas into Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama. These areas could see a foot of rainfall just from a system that is not going to make a direct landfall over, say, Mobile, Alabama, or Mississippi. And then that really kind of looks more like a nor'easter kind of deal once it moves onshore there. Still a bona fide system with a big, decent moisture fetch here. And you can see, look at that rainfall right in there. Decent rainfall in about 5 days, impacting Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. Okay, so that's really all for that system. But now, what I wanted to show you all, and we're going to zoom out. So let me make sure did I cover that really well, or did I miss anything, folks? Because we're going to transition. We're still going to look at that system, but we're now going to look at another area that I'm really concerned about. Actually. Two areas out there. So did I cover that pretty well? Did I miss anything? Do you want me to add anything in? I probably did forget about the amount of rainfall that is expected. So let me actually go to that. There we go. So yeah, so you can see right here, a lot of rainfall on the GFS model, anywhere between maybe 5 to 10 inches of rainfall in some of these areas. The European deterministic forecast, 12Z run. There we go. So the 12Z run in the next 7 days, you can see right here, lots of rainfall, even along the Gulf Coast here. Could see up to 6 to 8 inches of rainfall. I don't know where I got the foot of rainfall from, maybe from an Ensemble forecast from earlier, but nevertheless, lots of moisture is expected over this area. And boy, I mean, that's coming from a low to mid-grade tropical storm and not from a hurricane. And look at, you could see, if you're a fisherman, if you're a boater, you could see as much as 9 to maybe 12 inches of rainfall out there. So lots of rainfall is expected with this. Really more of a rain threat than a really big wind threat right now at the moment. I did want to show you all the upper ocean heat content over the Gulf of Mexico. Let me see if I get the right frame. Come on. I have so many tabs here. Hold on a second. I think that should be fine. Okay. There we go. So you can see upper ocean heat content in the Gulf of Mexico is incredibly warm. It is still record breaking. These orange colors are not, that's not very much, David. That's 175 units on our upper ocean heat content, and our system is down here. And guess what? It is going to be moving over this patch of really high upper ocean heat content over the next 3 to 5 days. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to allow the system to become a major hurricane or a hurricane, but there's a lot of fuel here. There's a lot of latent heat out here in the Gulf of Mexico. And if things really come together in an unfortunate way, this could be a really big problem. This could really be a big problem for Louisiana and Houston, Texas, even perhaps even Corpus Christi, Texas as well. So it's kind of this area up here that I am really concerned for a potential landfall. If this turns, if this heads north longer, then it impacts more Texas. But if this turns north later, or earlier, I should say, and turns northeast, then it impacts, say, Louisiana. And again, a lot of rainfall is expected. But guess what? I really want you to pay very close attention to this down here in the northwestern Caribbean. Lots of upper ocean heat content here, still off the charts of 200 units. Not as high as it was, say, just a week ago, but still really, really high upper ocean heat content here. Enough for later on in September or even into early October when the Central American gyre gets going, we could have a really big problem on our hands, especially if these systems are in a really light sheared environment, okay? So now, are you all, my throat's been dry lately. I've been having enough water. Don't worry about that though, okay? So are you guys all ready for me to move on? Did I cover that really, really well? Please let me know if I didn't, all right? Also, if you guys are new to the channel, consider subscribing if you haven't already. Share this live stream with your family and friends on social media, as well as also interact with the with me and also with the chat as well. And of course, ring the bell icon. I do apologize about last night, folks. Putting that post out there in the community post, I had to vent. There was a lot of overwhelming negative comments out there that I just had to vent. And that's why I put up that post. So, I know. I got to control it more, but sometimes it just gets overwhelming sometimes. Thank you, Titan. All right, so now that we talked about our Gulf storm, and I know a lot of people are probably going to tune out here, and I do apologize by that, but there's more than just our Gulf storm that we're focusing on here. There's also what goes on out here too in the MDR, and a lot of people are already going to start saying in the chat to me, David, stop worrying about that. That's going to go northwest. That's already going to be out to sea and be a fish storm. Heck with it. Don't even talk about it, David. Why are you talking about it, right? Well, we're not going to just base it off of one run and ensembles and stuff. We're just not going to base it off of that necessarily, because this is still in the early formative stage. Remember that tropical wave that came, or that's going to be emerging off of Africa in the next day or two? Remember all the ensembles were going crazy with that one. Remember we were thinking that, oh, maybe this is going to be an out-to-sea storm and whatnot. Well, I've got to bring you the bearer of bad news. That's changed in this cycle. We're now seeing an area over here that needs to be watched. See? 2 days makes a difference. 2 days makes a difference. And that is why sometimes until things kind of consolidate, you cannot just rely on consistency on the ensembles, because they may trend further south, they may go further north. So just like what we looked at in the Gulf of Mexico, what we're looking at here is the vorticity plot, how much spin there is in the atmosphere. Again, and this time I'm just going to use this layer instead of our low, mid, and upper layers, layer chart. Because what we have going on out here in the Atlantic, there is this breakdown of the intertropical convergence zone, and you can see it right in here. Let me turn off that so it can stay on screen. So we can see right here where we have the intertropical convergence zone. So this is where you have northeasterly flow here. We talked about this before, and where we have southwesterly flow right here. This has been an actual destructive interfering pattern to the Atlantic hurricane season. This has been extremely aggressive. The West African monsoon this year has just been so intense, so aggressive, that actually we have Africa visiting Well, over in the middle of the Atlantic here where it shouldn't be. Our intertropical convergence zone, our West African monsoon, should only go this far west usually. So once these waves move off of Africa, they break free and able to develop. That has not been the case this season so far. A lot of the entanglement here has just been within this stubborn intertropical convergence zone, or ITF, or intertropical front. And also over Africa, we have seen some of the most humid, moist conditions ever on record. In fact, we had an all-time record for the highest PWatt value over in northern Africa, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. Just to go to show you that the intertropical convergence zone should not be this far north. And when it's this far north, we have problems that arise, and they're unexpected. So now, what is the question about this all out here? All this shenanigans, mischief, right? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. The NHC has two areas out here of tropical development because they are thinking that the ITF is going to break off. Okay, it's going to distort itself, and we're not going to have a very laminar convergence zone where that never breaks down, right? Like we had back in late August, which again has been the problem here after Ernesto. We have two areas here, 40 and 50% chance out here. And you might think that, golly, David, stop talking about those. Those are going out to sea. Well, I'm a little concerned about the GFS model. And some of you are like, okay, David, here comes the hype. You're going to cause fear. You're going to cause a lot of panic. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. Okay? Believe what I say. See what I believe. All right? Think about that. Okay? Think about that, because I got a lot of not so great comments yesterday about this and be like, oh, David, it's going to go out to sea and you're projecting it's going to hit land areas? Do you want this to hit land areas? Of course I don't. I don't want that. But I'm going to follow what the models tell me. And the models are my brain of decision over here. Okay? So looking at the 850 millibar vorticity going forward here, yeah, things do break off. Break off the vine, as you will. Here is that vine. Right down here, we got a very strong tropical wave. There, that, my guys, was going to be the big talk about, oh, we're going to have a hype cane going on over here in the Atlantic, which, by the way, let me show you that. So that was the zeros, that was a September 6th run. So it was this run that showed that developing, right? That was the run that was causing a lot of panic and a lot of, oh my gosh, we're going to have a hurricane. Okay, but now when we go back and look at that and we say, oh, okay, it's there on the models. What about today's runs? It's still there. Okay, that's a little bit of a concern because we have another area here and we have another area over here. These trio of systems is what is going to allow something out here in the Atlantic to potentially develop. And wait until I show you the steering flow on this, okay? So, when we go forward here, you're like, oh my gosh, there's a hurricane, okay? I want you to pay attention to something. And I'm going to ask you guys this question. How far out is this? I want to see if you guys can look at this and be like, oh, it's how many hours is this? How many hours out is this, folks? Let me know in the chat. Also, invite your friends and family here, too, because I'm trying to break things down really good here. I'm trying to my best, right? Nope, under a week, Titan. It's under a week out. This is 156 hours. 168 hours is 7 days. My concern now, okay, is this is 120 hours out. Okay, 120 hours out. This is Thursday morning, Pacific time, September the 12th. That's peak hurricane season. It happens 2 days prior, though. This is not a fantasy model run. It's not at this point. This is within close range forecasting, and we have a hurricane out there. We also have this shenanigans over here. Okay. So when people say that, David, stop fear-mongering, it's not going to develop, it's hard to ignore something that's 5 days out, because it is within that range of the NHC when they go out to 7 days, right? Now, will it hit Puerto Rico? We are not even sure yet. We are not even sure. It's all about the steering flow. But I can rest assure you all, not really rest assure, there is going to be a disturbance out here. How strong is that disturbance? Is it going to be a tropical storm, a hurricane, a major hurricane? Is it going to be like a Lee situation? It is very hard to grasp that because, again, this has not consolidated yet. This is what it looks like right now on the model, and this is what it tries to do. Then, once it gets its act together, then it might try going further to the west. Now, how close does this get to Puerto Rico in about 7 days is very hard to tell right now. But I'll tell you this right now, that would be a very powerful hurricane. That would be a Category 2, maybe even a Category 3 hurricane, perhaps. Okay? But I'm not showing you something that's 384 hours out. So I cannot say that I am hype casting. This is a fantasy run model. Maybe this doesn't happen. Maybe it's further north, right? But also, look what we got here. Another system. Where is that going to go? Right? Oh, look. Oh, look. Another system. So we have 3 systems. While this is more extratropical up here or subtropical in nature, we have a little bit of a frontal band with that. But still, that's an area of disturbed weather. And look what happens. So we end up seeing another system. All right. So you can see that. And then look at here. More vorticity coming off of Africa. All right. At the end of the day, the ITCZ is moving further south. So the activity might pick up towards the back half of September. And the thing is, it is peak hurricane season. Technically, it's not until Tuesday. So again, that's the most active. And NHC actually updated, and I wanted to show you this too in a little bit, that the most named storms you get is between the 10th and the 15th, or no, wait, the 10th and the 17th of September, and it's like 300 storms that have formed in that week period since like 1870 something. I'll have to look back at that a little more. But my point being here is this is the peak of hurricane season. We're not turning our back on the season just because, oh, there's no named storms right now, David. We're about to get Francine here soon, and probably Gordon next, and then another one. Now, okay. Again, if you guys like the stream, please hit the like button. All right, we're only up to 105 likes. So please do that. That helps me out a lot and helps YouTube. So I am going to go really far out into the model run. Okay. And please, folks, I shouldn't, but it's always good to look far out into the model runs because the signals, we're looking for signals. So now that the system goes north, where will it go? It's going to take like an Ernesto path, and this is just beyond the 10-day period, and then I'm just going to stop it right there. I'm not going too far out because I just don't want to freak people out, because I'll tell you right now, I'll give you a spoiler alert. This hits New York as a hurricane. All right. It's going to hit, well, it's not, but based on our models, it could. It could, in theory, based on our steering flow. And then, of course, this little system over here is not going to be no threat to land. Probably might turn out to the north. We are not sure yet because it hasn't even developed. But I'm just letting you all know right now with what we're looking at. What could be on our doorstep. Okay? Please understand that. Okay, so this is the 18Z GFS. So I'm going to look at another run for you all. And you can see there's that system. A little weaker, of course, but still there. And here is that same system on that next hurricane maybe developing. Go back another run. And you can see right there, that was that system that was up here. So there's, again, a lot of timing differences. But you can see there has been that signal for something to exist out here in the Atlantic. Okay? So now, with that being said, everyone's probably wondering, what, David, show us the Canadian model. I will certainly do that to you. This is the 12Z Canadian model. What does it show? Nothing. It doesn't show nothing. So that's only one run. But wait, what does the European model show us? Got another system. So the European model may be onto something. We'll see if this shifts further south with next model runs. But that is quite the consistency. Here is the 10-day forecast from the GFS right here. And here's the Euro much further to the east. But there's the GFS. So we got to watch that. And most importantly, let's take a look at our naval model. Our Navy model. That's what the NAV-GEM stands for. The Navy Global Ensemble Model. I think that's what it stands for. GEM, right? So going forward, of course, there is our tropical Francine system, perhaps, that develops over the Gulf. That's the high consistency here. But look at, oh, the Navy model's picking it up. And something else behind it. So when we go forward, look where it goes. It goes right where that GFS model has it. If that's not enough, let's zoom in and let's compare those two models. So let's use the low-level wind on this run. So let's go all the way back to 144 hours. Look at that. Look at that. There's your Navy. There's your Navy model. There's your GFS model. There's your Navy model. And there's your 18Z GFS model. I mean, roughly in the same area. Can you try showing simulated satellite imagery on that? Sure. If I can I? Oh, okay, good. You can see it right there. Simulated IR satellite. And actually, on Weather Bell, I can even go further out on it. So let me bring up Weather Bell. Now, I'm not trying to say this is going to hit land areas. That's not what I'm trying to say, folks. But we cannot just look away and be like, out to sea. You bet it's going to go out to sea. I could bet anything. I could bet billions of dollars that it's going to go out to sea. By the way, Ernesto went out to sea, but yet it made landfall on Bermuda. So keep that in mind. Just because it goes out to sea does not mean that, oh, okay, let's just stop tracking it just because it goes out to sea. Right? So, goes to show you. So now, the 18Z, this doesn't go out very far, but it goes out further than tropical tidbits. So we can see our system right here, right there, really developing. Look at that. You can definitely see that on the GFS model. And that right there is a major hurricane. That's a major hurricane. And that's why we really do have to watch this. We really do. We'll see if the Euro comes to be more correct or if the GFS is onto something. Because I'll tell you what, if the GFS is onto something, this could be a really big deal. This could be a very big deal. Especially, look how close it gets to these Virgin Islands over here. What's up, Lowry? How are you doing? Paul, so what are the chances? A 0.0000001% chance that it actually hits Connecticut. Right now, for the time being. Is this system going to come to Houston? Right now, I don't know. That's all I'm going to say. Because again, right now, most likely the outcome this time of the year is if this does track this way, it's going to go like that. It's going to turn northward at some point. All right, it's very hard for systems to go all the way into the Gulf Coast. If you want a system to get into the Gulf Coast, it would have to probably be like in the middle or late part of August, where these systems could theoretically go all the way into the Gulf. That's not to say that it could still happen in mid to late September. So we're going to have to see on next model runs. Now, just because I show this does not mean it's going to develop. Okay, each run is different. Each run is different. So I don't want people to come at me that, golly, David, you did it again. You're predicting a major hurricane, which is way too far out into the models. I'm freaking aware of that. I'm aware of that, okay? I'm aware of that. But again, put this in the back of your mind. Put a piece of paper like this and tell yourself the peak of hurricane season is about 3 or 4 days away. Okay? 3 or 4 days away, and a lot can happen like that. Like a thunderclap very quickly. You know what? I remembered 3 or 4 days ago, I was sitting in this chair thinking that we may not have our first named storm until September 16th or the 17th. Well, guess what? We might have 2 or 3 named storms by the 15th or the 16th of September. See, things change. Weather patterns change. And yeah, we'll have to watch the Euro. We're really going to have to watch that Euro model. If the Euro in the GFS, or if the Euro goes south and the GFS remains consistent, I cannot help to say that this might not end very good. This is not going to end very good, perhaps. Especially what the GFS wants to show. I mean, I really don't want to show it, but boy, that binary interaction right there, that could be a big deal over the Northeast. I mean, yeah, it could be a really big deal. You can see this systems right there on the simulation. Just, it's crazy. And so we got to watch that. So now, what about the steering flow on this system? Now, I almost forgot to tell you all that. Now, the reason why this system could theoretically go really far west, surprisingly, is because, well, look at this ridge over here. Do you guys see that on your screen? Do you see this ridge? I'm sure you all do. What you're witnessing is an anticyclonic wave breaking event, where these actually, you get anticyclonic wave breaking instead of cyclonic wave breaking. In other words, you're seeing these ridges detached from the overall flow. In other words, they're cut off high pressure systems that have a mind of their own. And so what's going to end up happening is this system right here, this ridge is going to try to win out and get north of this system. And what you're going to see here Look at, see? What you're going to end up seeing is the system does that. See that? See that ridge right there? Go to 700 millibars. And you can see that ridge right here crawls to the north of the system. It builds westward with time. And so you end up seeing this system not going north until there's a weakness in the ridge, which might develop once a low perhaps develops off the eastern seaboard, and then you get this whole pinwheeling Fujiwara effect here of that system. So, yeah. So do you guys have any questions about that at all? For the 375 people that are watching, if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe today. It really means a lot. So now, to the favorite part of this discussion, what are the ensemble models telling us? So let me get into position here. Why is this freaking picture big? Why is my face big in this? There we go. So when we take a look here at the ensemble forecast from the GEFS model, that's a deterministic run, but what you're about to see is really, really bad. This is not good. This is not good. Okay. So this is 12 hours out. Again, take note. There is our system over the southern portion of the Bay of Campeche. Don't worry about this. Do not worry about that little guy right there. That's subtropical. That's a within a frontal boundary. Not going to do much. I'm not worried about it at all. Okay. I'm not worried about this. I'm not worried about that. But what I'm worried about is this. Let me make that a bigger circle. Is this over the Gulf, and this right here, and this. These three areas is what I'm really watching. Okay. So going forward, that's 12 hours. This is 3 days out, 5 days out. And keep in mind, there is our ensemble models picking up our system, becoming a tropical storm or a high-end tropical storm over the northwestern Gulf of Mexico before it makes landfall. That is likely to happen. Going to get Francine over perhaps the eastern Texas, southeastern Texas, maybe into Louisiana. But guess what? That's what we're talking about. That right there is what I am really watching. Okay. So that's a GEFS going forward. Day 5, day 7. So this is 7 days out. And you can see, look at some of these tracks. Look at some of these. They are approaching the northern windward islands. And then guess what? Day 10. Thing that you do see here is a lot of orange tracks and red tracks. A lot of hurricane intensity tracks here. I mean, 971, 972, 972. I don't see anything major. I don't see any 930 millibar tracks at all. But what I do see is a lot of these reds, and that indicates 70 to 80 knot winds. That is a hurricane intensity on the ensemble here. Okay? It is not even close to the United States right now, and that's good in the next 10 days. That's what we want this to turn out to see and not be a harm to anyone. But remember, look at all the points of origin here. So a lot of these are being generated down in this area, this whole ellipse. So if the center tries to go up like this, and then it might be able to turn northward a lot sooner. But if this develops and goes west, that's why. And this is why you have ensemble models for a reason, because ensembles give you the range of possible outcomes. The model is ran I think it's like 25 different times on the GFS. And so each time it runs, it gets tweaked a little bit. The atmospheric conditions get tweaked a little bit. And so we get different outcomes here on the ensemble. These tracks are different each time. This changes very quickly. Maybe the next cycle, it might be over here, or it might be over here a little bit, or it might be down the middle. Okay, this is why we got to watch this. Don't ignore it, because the NHC is watching it just like I am. Okay, and now going forward out to about 312 hours out, of course, again, you can see where it might go. But again, 312 hours out, you have some models that are doing this, and you have some models that are doing that. That's a really big cone of uncertainty. Really big. Okay, so now looking at our ensemble forecast from the Euro, 51 members. What is it showing? This goes only out to 10 days. 10 days. But overall, right now, it is showing it going generally this way. We will see, too, if this shifts southward. Okay, if these models go southward, if they go further northeast, or if they just kind of meander over here in the central Atlantic. Okay, but this is a system we've got to watch, and I'm not going to ignore it until I really am confident this is not going to impact any land areas. And that is even for you all living in the Northeast or even in Nova Scotia. I mean, if this is not going to impact land, it's got to do that. It's got to stay way out in the middle of the Atlantic. Okay. Models change hourly. No, they change every 6 hours. Scott, these render every 6 hours. Okay, so I just clicked off of it. So did I do good at explaining that or not? If I didn't do good, I am so sorry. I'm terribly sorry. There's nothing I can do. And then we will get to the next part of this. Do I even have it up? Oh, I thought I had this up the whole time. Okay. So let me go to full screen on this. Okay, you get to see my whole computer screen. Ignore the taskbars stuff at the bottom. You get to see how much stuff I always have running in the background. Yeah, just for you guys. Zero Z GFS is running. Ooh. All right. Let's actually look at that really quickly then. Okay, you guys get a cookie. You guys get a cookie because you beat me to the models. Yeah, it's 12 hours out. So we will see, though, what this looks like once the GFS is done rendering. I'm more interested what might be going on down here in the Gulf of Mexico. But we will return to that once that model is more in. All right. And for those that are watching, we will focus on that after this. Okay. I wanted to show you all the velocity potential because, yeah, we don't look at models here, folks. We look at above the models and look at our long range forecast, right? So what we're looking at here is different thumbnails of different images. And you're probably wondering, what am I even looking at here? All right. What you're looking at here is the velocity potential, where there is rising motion in the atmosphere and where there's sinking motion. So all this brown right here is all sinking motion. This is the observed analysis of the MJO. All right. A lot of sinking going on over here. Okay. And we had a really decent MJO event that is now over Africa. And as we go forward in time, we have another MJO and convective coupled Kelvin wave event that is going to be moving over into the Atlantic, into the central portion there of the Caribbean and into the Gulf of Mexico. How do I know that? Well, see these black lines? See this, folks? Can you all see that just fine? Let me know if you cannot see that. Then we have a problem if you can't see it. Okay. I want to highlight these areas right in here. Okay, so you all can see that. So what we're looking at here is the forecast of what the MJO is going to do. If it's favorable over the Atlantic, you get more rising motion, less dry air intrusions. That's how it's supposed to work, and lesser wind shear. And with the background state being very warm with upper ocean heat content with very warm sea surface temperatures, you're going to get a very favorable environment over here during a rising phase of the MJO. All right. We also don't have much MJO activity on this plot for the 14th of September and the 20th of September. And instead, we just have this going on right now over the Atlantic. Okay. So the MJO, the convective coupled Kelvin wave, or what is now, what is formerly called CCKW, convective coupled CCKW. That's how it is. That's how it's pronounced. All right. Just if you want to say the letters. So favorable here, and even favorable over here. So from the 14th of September, well, even before that now, because again, we do have that convective coupled Kelvin wave moving over into the Gulf of Mexico as we speak right now, into the Caribbean. So pretty much from the 7th onward, we're going to have a lot of activity potentially to watch for in the Atlantic. We have a lot of this green, a lot of this upward motion, and this is going to mean more activity. A favorable environment is coming, and we've talked about this over the last couple of weeks, how this is going to all change out here eventually for the back half of September. And seems like right now it's still holding true. Favorable MJO coming, and that's going to lead to a lot of upward motion. This on top of very warm Gulf waters. Again, really warm out here in the Gulf of Mexico. We talked about that upper or mid to upper 80 Fahrenheit temperatures off the Louisiana coast. Water temperatures are in the lower 80s, right around 82, 83 degrees Fahrenheit. So not as warm as they were just 2 weeks ago when we were looking at water temperatures here in the upper 80s to lower 90s. So those have cooled off pretty nicely. But now all this warm water is still down here in the Gulf of Mexico. And that's why we're watching that. Also, one quick thing that I wanted to show you all is the potential minimum central pressure. I'm going to just get through this really quickly. Essentially, right now, the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean and the Atlantic are open for business for intense tropical storms or hurricanes out there. With all of this, again, potential maximum winds here showing us that the blue areas are category 5 intensity and the red and purple colors are category 3 and 4, and the red, just solid, is category 2. And so this kind of gives us an idea how favorable could the Atlantic become under a favorable environment. All right. So that's that. Any questions? Sorry if I did not, I hope no one answered questions because I skipped probably through all of them. Sorry. Man, it sucks that that Tropical Tidbits is ahead of Weatherbell, and Weatherbell is a paid website. GFS is rendering. Yeah, it's not showing as much right now in its 0Z run. Quite impressive, if you ask me. I'm surprised. But we'll see with what it means once it's fully done. Yeah, Tidbits is the bomb. I do agree. Tidbits is the go-to website. Provided by Levi Cowan, Dr. Levi Cowan. Hey, it's free. It's free to use the models. You can see them in real time. And we're going to see with what this system is going to do. I want to see what the icon shows, if the icon has come out. And the icon has come out. Yeah, it's still showing a pretty intense system, 988 millibars, so it still thinks it will strengthen. But the icon not showing much out here with that first system. But it has a lot more impetus on that second wave. That's the one that we may have to watch right there. But not so much on our first wave, but our second one has more juice to it. And also, this over here too. This is broad in nature though. Funny enough, but the icon is picking something up there too. It wasn't even there on the last run, wasn't it? Yeah, not as defined. It's further south, so that's going to be interesting. That could be interesting. Actually, since you all are enjoying the stream, who wants to be nicknamed the GFS model in the chat? Who wants to be nicknamed the GFS model? Thank you, Scott, from Crappy, Florida. I do appreciate that. I'm going to try to ignore the haters. All right. I wish I could nickname people in the chat here, but I guess you can't. Maybe we could... Scott. I'm going to pick Scott. Scott could be the GFS model. And then Chase could be the icon model. And then Texas Girl could be the European model. And then let's see here. Yeah, you're the icon model, Chase. So we'll see what we'll see with what Scott says if this system is going to develop significantly. James, you could be the artificial intelligence European model. That's what you can be. You're the AI model. Can I be the Euro? You could be the European Ensemble, Jorge. You could be the Ensemble forecast. David Lee, YouTube, yes, you could be the Canadian model. Speaking of Canadian, what does David YouTube say? He is not rendering yet. You're not rendering. Come on, start rendering. We need you to render. System looks a little weaker, though, on the GFS. I'm surprised. It's trended further north, though. Like, it's literally going to be there a little faster. What model can you be? Devilo Burns? You could be... let's see. You could be the GEFS Ensemble. Tillery, you could be the halves A. You could be the halves B Hurricane model, which actually is a halves B on 91L. Let's see what it's showing. It's nothing. You're showing nothing? It's crazy. Not showing much out there, I guess. This definitely... Oh, this is further south. A little further south, so we're going to keep an eye on it. Still showing something, though. It is still showing something. Yeah, Chase, I'm noticing you're not so aggressive on that wave out there. The front wave out there in the main development region. You're like, yeah, it's not going to develop. Maybe you missed the circulation. That's from the icon model, which again is not really bullish on that. And it's way further north. Wow, way further north on that. I voted Tillers as the GEFS ensemble. The front will clear out the air for the next one. Oh, that's probably what you're detecting. But there's this disturbance that does try to develop here, though. That's a little interesting. That was not there on the last run at all. Whole different ball game. And there's your uncertainty still, but boy, the icon going pretty aggressive. Going pretty aggressive on this storm right here off the Texas coast. Yeah, GEFS, you're the ensemble. Jilly, how am I scaring you? Ask me that question. How am I scaring you? How am I scaring people? I mean... Yeah, defend me, people. Defend me. Cover my back. Cover my back. Actually, literally, I could almost hire someone on my channel to, like, cover my back. Literally, if there's any bad comments, your job is to just get rid of them. Because sometimes I don't have time doing it. The guy is just saying what he sees. I'm the AI model. Yup, you are, James. Speaking of AI, let's see what the AI model is showing. Yeah, you're really aggressive. Not as aggressive as the last run, though. You're not as aggressive. Wind is down from 43, from 46 earlier, so it's a little weaker on the AI. But been very consistent. Very consistent. But let's just see what the GFS shows if that model's going to be consistent. The Scott model. Let's see if it's strengthening. Wow, that really deepens. 996 down by 2 millibars. Down by 2 millibars, so that does consolidate still. That does consolidate. Icon, yes, I can. Oh, then you know what? Chase, you can take in the data. How about that? You can take in the data once you see it. So this is what it's looking like, Chase. Look at that very carefully. Thank you, Just Dak, for the $5 donation. I do appreciate that. I like how you could actually reply to them. That's pretty cool. That's new for the YouTube chat, I guess. Thanks. and then it actually highlights. That's pretty cool. Thank you, YouTube. Your upgrades really help. What's up, Dopey? What's up, crazy weather dude? Thank you, Ruben. Thank you, Ruben, for the $3 donation. I appreciate that. Yeah, so Chase is looking over the satellite imagery, and maybe he will reinitialize. There it is, though. There's a lot of deep convection on that. And actually, you know what? I want to do something while we're watching the model render. I'm only going to watch part of the GFS because I do have to head off here in a little bit. Not right now. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. I don't need to go right now, but probably in the next 15 to 30 minutes. I'm going to wait for at least the first 7 days to render on the GFS. Let's see what the wind is looking like down there where the system is. So I wanted to show you this. Look at the wind in the Gulf of Mexico, folks. I don't know, man, my camera doesn't like to focus. Maybe it'll focus. Let me try focusing it really quickly, but you can see that right there. Right there. Yep, it won't focus. It's not going to focus very well. That's 34 mile-an-hour winds, gusting to 43. I actually like the Apple's weather app. I really do. See what the winds are going to do. Only gusting up to 42 miles an hour. I wonder what they use to actually estimate the wind on the app. I was even asking my cousin that earlier, like, what do they use to get the wind data? Is it models? Is it satellite? That's what I'm wondering. So let's see and stare. If I can get the right image to pop up here. Let's see where this is at right now. Okay, GFS. Okay, GFS. Is that 985 millibars? Wow, Scott going a little aggressive tonight. Scott the model. Wow, that really deepens on that last frame. That goes from 993 to 984 millibars. And it is moving. Oh, yeah, this is really deep. 985 to 981 millibars. But it has been consistent. Look at that. It has been consistent, and it is moving further offshore. What in the world? It's even picking up this as a little vorticity? Man, GFS. I would, on an overall standpoint, because the averaged out area, I would say this is a tropical storm with 70 mile an hour winds. I'm going to be a bit generous because I don't want to be super generous, but I don't want to be like, oh, this is a Cat 2 hurricane. No. Actually, that is not a hurricane, by the way, because the purple area, that's 50 knot winds. That's hurricane intensity is actually up here on the graph because we're zoomed in. If we zoomed out, it would be a different color code. But so this purple is not hurricane force winds. So at the moment, this is not a hurricane on this model. It's a strong tropical storm. Oh, new model, a new frame. Oh, 977 millibars. 977 millibars. That is actually comfortably away from land areas to where it could actually intensify. Guess what? You know what the scary thing about that is? You know what the scary thing about that is? Guess what? I wanted to show you all this. I wanted to share this with you all. I hope I don't get copyrighted. Nope, not that. Hold on. Shorts. There we go. Remember this? Remember this, shorts? Let's pause it right there. Isn't that incredible? This is coming from a different position, different track. But look at, I wish I got the day on there. I did not even show the day. I'm just trying to see. September something, right? I think I showed like, I think it was like September like the 11th. It was like September the 11th or the 12th. And believe it or not, unfortunately, the GFS wants a 974 millibar system. So it looks like the shear is not going to destroy the system in time. I cannot believe that. I mean, that really gets to me when you see something like that. I mean, this shorts film could still be current. People could actually be looking at this and be like, oh, wow, this is actually going to happen. Probably. Possibly. Well, it's not going to be 954 millibars. But that right there is just something. That's just something else. Coming from a different angle of attack, though, that was coming in from like that. This is actually going to be doing that instead. I'm not saying if it's going to be this strong, but wow, that is 970. Is that 973, folks? I don't even know if that's 973. I'm going to actually zoom in and see if that is 973. Actually, you know what? Pivotal weather. Pivotal weather might be able to see it a little bit better. So let me go over to that really quickly. Oh man, let me see regional. Can I go into the Gulf? I hope I can show the Gulf. Perfect. There we go. Let me see what it's showing up on here. It gets down to 975 millibars, 974. Wow, look at those winds on this. That's 71 knot winds. Which, by the way, if we go back in time, this system has about 4.5 to 5 days left over water to further organize and intensify. So what we're looking at is a not so good. This is not a good situation. That is a strong system. It looks like the upper level environment should not support something that strong, though. But I bet you it's because of how it's moving. Shear's probably going to be about 15 to 20 knots. It's been trending, though. Look at, it's been trending southward. That is really bad. That is not good. Look at it. Each model run really, I mean, the low was over here the other day on the projected scale. And look at this. That's bad. It's trending further to the east. That trend, that's not what I want to see there. That's a nasty trend. That's a nasty trend. It's going further east with each model run on average. Thank you so much, Hale. I do appreciate that. By the way, I wanted to tell you all, we're up to already 26,306 subscribers. So thank you for the support, donations, and everything. Because again, at the end of the day, we try to decode the weather as what it's supposed to be decoded. So with that being said, this system does get down to 974. The last run, 988, 979, 982. This is the most strongest bullish run that we have had so far today or tonight. And I'm not saying that just to get views. You're seeing it in front of you right now. And if we go forward with the winds in miles per hour, what does this equate to? Yeah, that's definitely a hurricane right there. You can definitely see that. Right, even briefly, 100-mile-an-hour winds. And you're seeing it. You're seeing it right there. That little plot system. You can see 102.4 on the southern side in about 4 to 5 days. And this moves on shore over Louisiana. So it looks to now be more of a Louisiana threat based on our recent model trends. Which, by the way, those wind gusts there could be on the order of 80 to 100 miles an hour. And also, by the way, all the rainfall in this little area, there could be a foot of rainfall too on the latest GFS. So, yeah, this is definitely going to earn a name. This is definitely going to earn a name. And guess what day this is? Okay, if this gets named on the 10th, that counts. We have had a named storm on the 10th of September. I think this would be I don't know how long the streak has been since we have had a no-name storm on the 10th of September. Look at the CMC model now, David. Oh, CMC is out. Let's see. CMC is it stronger? It is stronger, but it is still further to the west on this one. But right now, I think a landfall somewhere in Louisiana, based on the icon and the artificial intelligence system, seems to be a little bit higher confidence. You can see there's the AI model. Here is the icon model, and here is the GFS model. So it's within the scope right here. The Canadian may be an outlier on this cycle furthest to the west, but definitely a possibility still. We don't know exactly where this is going to go. It could still hit Texas, or it can turn and hit Louisiana. Or if this trend continues to go further east, this could even turn and actually make landfall in Mississippi or even Alabama. We really do got to watch this. So this is what we're concerned about. The GFS, very bullish tonight. Really, really bullish. I mean, for a system, well, it's going to spend 5 days over the water, but I just don't have much faith or much in the way of, oh, this is going to be strong. This is going to be a major hurricane, because, I mean, this is asymmetrical. Look how asymmetrical the upper level moisture plot is. I mean, that is very asymmetrical. Let's see what simulated IR shows. Yeah, it shows a little bit of an eye-like future. Look at that. Very little bit of an eye-like future popping out there on satellite, on the GFS. Simulated satellite. All right. So now let's take a look at our system out there in the MDR. I want to see this. So, wow, that is weird. GFS, nothing on that system now. Nothing on that system left. That was a huge downtrend. It's still going south, though. So this little piece of energy still wants to go further south. So it still wants to impact those islands. So I'm not letting go on that prediction on this run. Also, something new popping up here on our GFS2. Look at this. That was not so aggressive on the last couple of runs. Look at that. And already we have a third area. A third area that is going to be coming off of Africa. And I'm not saying this to cause fear or hype. I mean, there literally is 1, 2, and 3 areas. 3 areas. And if we look at the trends here, you can see there was not much here on the model. Remember that? That was literally a day and a half ago. Barely anything. But now look at all of a sudden, we're starting to see something pop up here. This is a little bit of an uptrend with more vorticity, much further south this time. This is really far south. And let's look at the moisture pocket. Yeah, there's a lot of moisture on that. A lot of moisture. So, yeah, that is a system that I'm going to watch. That pattern really is changing, though. See if that gets its act together, though. A lot of spin on that, though. So there is definitely 3 areas right there. When is Recon going out? Recon should be going out tomorrow. So Recon should be going out into the system tomorrow. Yeah, so they're going to be out there. Oh, wait, no. That's not going to be until the 8th of September. Actually, wait, no. That is tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, my time, they're going to be out there when I'm at church, actually. If they find anything interesting, I will let you guys know in the on a community post. Then they're going to start missions on this. They're going to fly 3 planes into the system. Oops, did I not show you guys? Oh my goodness. Get my screens mixed up. Sorry about that. But this is their forecast right here. 3 planes going in there. The fixed time is that, so they're going to be in there for a while on both of these missions. And they're predicting that it might be even a depression, so they're going to do fixes. So that is the prediction. And actually, they do have upcoming flights already. So the soonest plane will take off in about 10 hours. So 10 hours and 57 minutes from now, they will be taking off. And they will be flying down there into the southern portion of the Gulf of Mexico. Now, I want to make it clear that just because there's not much on this run from the GFS, I want to make it clear right here, does not mean this is not going to develop. All right. You still have this over here that could still develop. In other words, I think the GFS did not initialize this properly. I'm not saying it will develop or it won't, but I find it interesting. Actually, it might have over-initialized it the last run, but it does show something there, though. So we're really going to have to see what this does right here in the northern Windward Islands, that area of spin. Because that, if that takes off, then that's going to be a big problem. That's going to be our next, probably G-name storm. If not, this would be our G-name storm. But there are 3 areas that we may need to watch. This one, and of course this one. And I've been telling you guys this. It's September. Happy September, folks. What's up, Greg D? How are you doing, Greg D? How's my brother doing over here? By the way, if you guys want to subscribe and show your support, please do so. Hit the like button and ring the bell notification icon as well. Yeah, this is going to develop right here. This is definitely strong. That's definitely a big tropical wave right there. Yeah, so the GFS doesn't do much with that wave at all. That's gone on the GFS. No ocean temperatures. Well, we all know how warm the ocean is out there in the Atlantic. This is how warm the ocean is in the Atlantic right now. Very warm out there. Very toasty. Thank you. I'm glad you're doing well, Greg. Boy, Greg, some wild GFS model runs tonight on the 0Z run, especially over the Gulf of Mexico. Did you see how strong that system might end up getting? Possibly as low as 973, 974 millibars. Theoretically, that would be a hurricane. Hurricane intensity. Hurricane intensity. But it's still too early to call if that would be a hurricane or not. I'm not too soon. But we'll see with what the NHC does on that area of interest right here. And then there's that other one. David, I updated the chat words list. Just FYI. What do you mean by that, Chase? Yeah, sure, Greg. Absolutely. So, Greg, are you ready for this? That's the GFS model run. That's the latest GFS model run. And you could see the shift further to the east. Look at this. 06Z run from last night, 12Z run from this morning, 18Z run this afternoon, and 0Z run. Each model run, it's been shifting to the east. It's been shifting to the east. We will see if that shift continues to happen. But it is... Yes, that is Greg D. It is the Invest 91L. That is in the Gulf of Mexico. David, can more storms be more favorable and end of September and the middle of October? At this point, there is definitely a favorability period coming, like I talked about in my discussions previously. If we look at the full screen again, favorable environment is coming to the Atlantic. Again, MJO activity as well as a convective coupled Kelvin wave going to be moving over the Atlantic. And again, during the peak of the season, things could get wild very, very quickly. And probably might be one of those times to say, oh, this season's not a bust anymore. Because it's not a bust. Yeah, Greg, it is. 4 days out, Greg, and that's a hurricane. 4 days out, we're looking at a hurricane in the Gulf. 81 miles an hour, and if you thought that was strong, possibly up to 102 mile an hour hurricane in the northern Gulf by Thursday, early morning, September the 12th. Thank you so much, Suzanne. I do appreciate that, hun. I do appreciate that. I'm glad you guys do like the content very much. I am so sorry about my rant last night on the community post. It's when you get just too many of those negative comments, it just gets to me. It really does. Because we're more than just 50%. More than just 50%. Yep, exactly, Greg. And that's why I make my thumbnails the way I do. Okay? I don't, and I'm sorry I'm not going off on a tangent here, but that's why I'm consistent with my thumbnails. Notice the style that I use. I'm consistent with it. All right? This is not clickbait. I started this style actually last year before Lee developed. I did. If you look at my most popular videos, you can see I started this new style. And so I'm not going to change this style. It's my new former style on the YouTube channel. And I think it's good. I like it. I like the graphics that I use. I really do. And that is what I'm going to continue using this. I'm not going to change it. As long as I'm not putting no Cat 5 hurricane on there and saying a Cat 5 hurricane is coming. Unless it is explicitly shown in the NHC, then I would. But like, now this was a little different story. I feel like I went a little bit too much on that thumbnail. I feel terrible. I feel like, holy moly, I just got myself a loss of credibility at that point. I just feel terrible. I'm looking back at that. I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? But the models were so consistent for a little while there. I'm like, I don't know. This might do something. And that's why I did that. So, and by the way, the words are going to be big because I want to fill up space. I don't want to have tiny words, you know. So that's that. So I hope everybody understands. Thank you so much. See, someone admires my style. Thank you. Okay, now I would understand when someone says, David, stop the clickbait and fear-mongering when I put a Cat 5 hurricane on there with explicitly that shows Cat 5 hurricane coming. Then I would be like, then I could understand why I'm getting all the hate. That I understand that. You guys could vent and yell at me all you want at that point. But like when I say, watch this, we gotta watch this, right? We gotta watch that in the Gulf. Because look at 50% one model or one thumbnail, 70 the next, right? And look where we're at. We're at 80%. So basically what I'm doing is I look at this and then I paint over. Actually, you know what? Actually, you know what? Since you guys are awesome, do you guys want me to make a thumbnail and show you how it's done? Raise your hand in chat if you guys really want me to do one. Since we talked about most of it. Since we did a lot of the talking already as we speak and there's really not much more to do. Please, David, what about Monroe, Louisiana? So Monroe, Louisiana could get a lot of devastation by this. Could get a lot of rainfall, certainly, and some gusty winds. Yeah, I bet. You guys see? So this is kind of the behind the scenes on how I make a thumbnail. And I do use Photoshop. I actually do use Photoshop for this. And believe me, it takes me like 45 minutes to make a thumbnail. It really does. No California drama. I know, I'm not here for drama. So, let me load it up. Okay, so hold on, it's loading. And then I'll probably head out after that because I pretty much covered with what I needed to. There's not much more, but I really want to make it clear to you all that I mean business when I do my YouTube videos. I'm not here to just to F around and not do anything. No, I did not cuss, so you guys cannot say I cussed. All right. Excuse me, man, my throat's dry. Maybe I'm just talking too aggressively. So, this is my latest thumbnail. So, if we look at this, so what I end up doing is I'm just going to, well, of course I'm going to take that off because then I would be making my next thumbnail. And then what I do is I take this off and I look at other, so we need that. So what I will end up doing is this, take that off, and then change this possibly to, I'll just keep it at 80. I'll just do 85% for this an example. This is not going to be the official thumbnail, but that's what I would do. And then based on our system, where it's exactly located, I would put it right here. So I'll probably put it here for our example, and then I would just move my thing there like that. And then here, I would decide, okay, Tropical Storm Francine soon. So then I would put in this example. Okay. Hurricane Francine coming. By the way, thank you, Ben V, for becoming a member. So then that's what I do, and then the next thing I do is then add more to it. So Hurricane Francine. So then that's what I would do. And the reason why I add different text elements is because I can then adjust each element the way I want it, like this, instead of just typing it all out, because then it doesn't look good that way, just in my opinion. So I would put Hurricane Francine and then deactivate that, and then Hurricane Francine soon with a question mark. I do put question marks until it's official, just because you just don't know if it is or isn't going to be a thumbnail or a hurricane. And then sometimes if I have it here on the list, okay, that I could probably use. And then I can just drag this all over here. But what I would do is, before I do that, is go to granulates, go up above that and add a layer. And then what I will do is paint a layer and then highlight where it's going to go. Now, I have a lot of redos that I have to do sometimes just to make sure it's accurate. I can't make it perfect always, but then I would draw it up. Actually, I need layer 10 above base overlay. That's what we need. So then what I would do is kind of paint this whole area of the area where I think it might move into. So this is not the official new thumbnail for tomorrow's video. This is just an example, because this could change in a heartbeat. Then when I select the layer, I could then add some effects to it. So outer glow, I could add an outer glow and change that all up so I can make this really glow out a lot more, or I can just kind of do that. And then I can just make this maybe a 36 to a 40 on the spread of that. And then if I wanted to add a shadow, I can, but I'm not going to do that. In fact, I could even make this. Can we bevel this? Oh, we could actually bevel it. I have not tried this. I might have to try adding that in some of my videos, is beveling, to making it actually a little bit more, kind of more detail. So I could bevel this like that, And then let's see what else. We could actually add a gradient overlay to this as well. So that's kind of how that looks for an example. So now why I gradient it, why I make it red to pink like this, pink means it's going to get very intense, probably a tropical storm or hurricane, and I just put a 85%. It's what we call a protection intensity contour gradient. So when I see that there's really high confidence that it's going to be like a hurricane or a tropical storm or a high-end tropical storm, I will make that gradient. I'll go from red being lower chances to a super high chance in the pink. And then what I'll do is add some question marks, because again, we don't know exactly where this is going to end up being. So I make question marks, and then I'm going to duplicate another layer to add another question mark. And then if I have to, I can duplicate another layer and add 3 question marks. So again, that way people are like, at least that protects my clickbaiting kind of thing. Because someone would probably straight up put, let's just do this really quickly. Someone would probably straight up put this right here. Now, in some instances, it's appropriate to put this in as a clickable thumbnail, but you really do have to be careful because, of course, I do have people watching these videos and I don't want to freak people out. But if it's going to be a big hurricane, let me get rid of these question marks right here. If it's going to become a big threat, that's when I would put this in. And this right here, it doesn't matter, it's an image of a hurricane, but it could also be interpreted as a major hurricane picture. You know, Pictionary, or not charades, but I'm trying to figure out what it is. But just think about this. Images speak a million words. Someone could interpret this as a Cat 1 hurricane, or someone could interpret this as a Cat 5 hurricane. This, do I seldom put that in? I should have not put it in my last thumbnails, and that's why I'm going to be very careful at it. But if there's really, really excessively high confidence, and I know that this could become a hurricane or of some intensity, then I would probably put that in. But I try to keep that out. And then sometimes I will, wait, I already have a hurricane type image. Oh my gosh, I added 2 in there. So let me get rid of that. And you could also glow this up too and add other detail. You could like mess around with all of these images. You could even put a gradient overlay and just put a blob like that. You can do a lot of cool stuff and even put a pattern if you wish. Of course, we don't do that in it. If not, I could even bevel this. So I can make it really bevelly. Actually, that doesn't even look good at all. Looks terrible. So that's what I could do. And then, of course, to top it off, here's a little magic trick. Who likes magic tricks, right? So we could actually then put the hardness, so change your brush size, and then turn this down to 55, and then dub this. Actually, we can make this a little bit bigger, and then make this to 70, and guess what? There's your finishing product. That's how you can get some serious freak out attacks of people. And that's why I almost feel like I should call out people, but I don't want to ruin my reputation and my credibility on that point at this point. But I mean, you get the idea. Now you'll learn the hard way that, oh, that means a hurricane or a Category 2 hurricane. You know, because you know that is very symmetrical. That is a picture of a Cat 5 hurricane. I'm just looking at it and I can say that's a Cat 5 hurricane. But of course, we're going to remove that right now. And there we go. And so that's how I make thumbnails. That's how I make it. How do you guys like that? How do you guys like this a lot? I hope you guys enjoyed that little presentation of how I make thumbnails. I don't bother messing with the brightness and saturation. I leave those alone and I just keep it natural. But this is what I will end up doing a lot of the time, is adding big text. This is what we call our keyword phrase headline. Okay, so that way when the viewer comes onto my channel, they can see that, oh, Hurricane Francine soon, right? They're going to click on it and they are going to see that, oh, we could have a hurricane here. I don't do this to get clicks, to get money or anything like that. You have to style things up. You really do, because if you don't, it's going to be a problem. And then, of course, I am going to just save that because I don't want to. I did put a little bit of work into that, and I'll just leave it alone as it is, and then it will automatically close out once it is fully saved. So that's basically a look. Oops, and where did my chat go? There we go. I moved things around that I shouldn't have. So why is this not closing? Is it going to close? Should be closing. So how did you guys like that illustration? Let me know. Let me know. You have to add some sparkling cider to things, right? You have to shine up things. I mean, you could look at the whole weather community on YouTube. They do it all the time. They do it all the time. I do support Mr. Weatherman, by the way. Good thumbnails. He uses Photoshop. I'm pretty much sure he does that. So you have to pop the viewer. You have to open the viewer's eyes up and be like, oh, we've got a system. We've got a system that's coming. This is growing bigger. Now, when I mean growing bigger, I don't mean it's actually growing bigger. But when I mean bigger, as in it's each model run, it's strengthening, it's getting stronger on each model run, the trends are going up, that's growing bigger. Okay. So just for you all that are wondering about the thumbnail, my definition of a thumbnail is a lot different than what people think, that it's just clickbait. He's clickbaiting. Well, but at the same time, if you guys are saying I'm clickbaiting while I'm doing my job, if people are saying I'm clickbaiting, that means, well, I'm hitting a really big audience and they're like, wow, whatever I'm doing to my thumbnails is getting the viewer to click on it and through on the video and watching the video thoroughly, you know? Watch the video thoroughly, it's going to help. It really is going to help at the end of the day. I try to watch someone's video on YouTube at least 50% of it. So I try to watch, if it's a 10-minute video, I like to watch at least 5 to 7 minutes of it. I don't like to click away, because if I lived in Louisiana, I would really want to know the detail, right? All right, I've been going on a little tangent there. So sorry. It's my little ego getting into me, so. All right, what is the questions? All right, let's see. Thumbs up on that work. Thank you so much. Scott, love it. Nice explanation. Thank you. Do you have a Facebook page? I do have a Facebook page. It is Sacramento Weather Center. I barely use it, but I am looking into upping my production on that. Let me actually see where it's at. Okay, yeah. So this is my page. The last time I uploaded something was July the 1st. I really do need to get into doing this. But with the hurricane season, again, everything that I use here is through Photoshop. So that's why this right here alone, what you're looking at, that took me, just to create this, took me about 5 or 6 hours. So everything with Photoshop takes time, and that's why it is time consuming when making these blog posts and stuff like that. But I do have a Facebook page. It's called Sacramento Weather Center. I only do local weather updates. If it's a very big deal, like a barrel situation or a lease situation, I will typically go outside of the Sacramento, and then just kind of spread my arms out a little bit. Hold on. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Yes. Hold on, folks. No, just. At 7:30, yes. I will be at 7:30, yes. Taking it back after I'm done. Okay, I'll show you what you can do. Okay. Hold on, you guys. Yeah, and not touch them.
Okay, and so that's what you can wear.
Yeah.
7:30, and do
Yes.
you want to take your car too, or should we just take mine?
We can just take your car.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'll need a lot of help.
Yeah. You heard it probably, folks. I got to get up at 7:30.
No, you have to be ready to leave at 7:30.
Oh, so I have to be up at like 6:45 in the morning. Yeah, 6:45 in the morning, folks. So there we go. I am back. All right. So where are the questions at? No, I did not receive DoorDash. David Lee. Can you please explain why it's important for everyone to listen to their local municipal government for official information on evacuation orders? So the reason why that's important is because the people that operate these evacuation orders know what they're talking about. So please follow in simple reasons. If you're in evacuation order, please just leave, evacuate, please. An evacuation order means you have to evacuate, and an evacuation warning means you need to be ready to evacuate. You need to be ready. All right. The pros of like the local officials know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. And believe me, I'm a little more simpler on that, grade D. What's up, Kathleen? How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. But again, yes, it is going east, Pero. It is going east. Yeah, if I lived in Louisiana and I saw this coming my way, I would definitely evacuate and I would go inland. I would go inland a little more. I wouldn't be at the coast. Even if it's just a tropical storm, you just don't know what these storms can do. You just don't know. Hey, David, is the Atlantic gonna heat up now? It looks like it, yes. Activity is brewing. All right, we're going to get to questions for a few more minutes, and then I think I'm going to head off for the night. Before we do, GFS does it again. Does it again. With that system, it really thinks that system is going to be a big monster out there, that second wave. We're still going to see about this one right here, though. I'm not taking my eyes off of that one. Not just off of one model run. I'm still watching that one right there. Even so it's not on the last run, there's a lot of uncertainty. There really is. If you guys have generators, that's good. Generators are good. Keep your garage open too if you run them, so you don't have carbon monoxide in your garage. You do not want to smell burnt gas. Invest 92L. Yes, well, there might be another invest sooner or later, perhaps. Maybe invest 93L eventually. But yeah, by the way, how did you guys like the whole Photoshop thing? What do you guys think of that? You can see I put a little bit of time and articity in my thumbnails. I really do. And yes, Photoshop is not free. The only time I don't use Photoshop is if I'm out of town and I'm uploading from my iPad, then it's back to the good old thumbnail days. But yeah, this system right here in the Gulf really needs to be watched. That really, really does need to be watched. Thank you, Scott. And boy, Scott, you're going aggressive on those systems out there in the Atlantic, or on this one especially. What you doing? Why are you stalling the system? It's crazy. You're just stalling. You're just not moving it. You're just parked out there. That's because there's two ridges in the way and there's nowhere for this to really go. It's probably one of the reasons why. Exactly. Good job, Greg. Boy, I feel like Greg could work at the NHC. You're really good at what you do, Greg. You really are. And I want to thank you for helping me out with my channel. With the constructive feedback, we should say. Constructive feedback. There's no reason to leave for a Cat 2. Well, that's how you feel. But my job is, if someone's new and lives in Louisiana, you have to, you just have to take precautions. I'm doing my job properly, and that is to warn people. David, I updated the no words list. Okay, I wanted to ask you that. Maybe you didn't reply. What do you mean by the no words list? I don't even understand what you mean by that. Well, since you are a moderator, or you're probably going in there and adding bad words, the bad word list, so it can be put up there in the chat, so that's actually good of you. So, yeah. I don't know if you're working on it, but good job. Good job. I'll have to take a look at it later. Chase to the chase. Chase to the work. Golly word, that system is stalling out on the GFS. And this looks intriguing to see. It's just sitting there. It's not doing anything. That is a very strong system too. Oh, what do the spaghetti models look like? You're probably trying to get my attention on that. And then I actually have to go. I really do. I didn't even get to this. Oh my gosh, I feel terrible. I did not even get to this today. We'll get to this next time, but this is basically a Hofmöller diagram showing us more opportunities for development. First of all, right over here again, and even over here. So there are potentially 3 opportunities for significant tropical development to move on through the end of September into early October. We're going to really have to watch this to see how this all moves on through. And then here's another look at it. Again, favorable environment now in general, and then another area coming up in late September. And that's why I don't think we're done with seeing anything. The GFS or GEFS ensemble showing something really similar with all that upward motion over the Atlantic basin. Beyond the 21st of September, we have a convective coupled Kelvin wave moving over the region right now. It's in the process of doing that, and that's going to give us some of that activity. And then it really gets going by the latter part of September into early October. There we go. I did a quick discussion. Yeah, well, I have to get up at 6:45. I have to take a quick shower, get up at 6:45 to help with a memorial service that I have to help out with tomorrow morning. And then going to church. After church, gonna come home and get to work at doing another video on the tropics and maybe a live stream. I can't guarantee if I'll do every live stream. Actually, I'm not gonna probably end up doing one tomorrow night because for those people that are watching, guess what is coming out on September the 9th? Guess what's coming out on September the 9th? I need you all to guess. That's my favorite thing that I do with people. Guess what's coming out September the 9th. Look at the current storm on Tropical Tidbits. Yeah, here it is on Tropical Tidbits. I'll keep this as a resting image while you guys guess. Oh, yes, spaghetti models? Sure. Let me close all of these out because there's just too many tabs open right now. So let me go back and do that. Four days out. Let's see. Interesting. It's not as strong. No, not as strong at all. What the heck? Lot weaker on the ensemble plot here. Only showing green tracks. Oh, Melvin. Ding, ding, ding. iPhone 16 comes out. Yes, I'm getting a new iPhone. Well, not that day, but I'm pre-ordering one. And the people at AT&T told me you might want to get here early because it's going to probably get really busy. And it's kind of a first come, first serve situation. And so the Apple event happens at 10 in the morning Pacific time. That would be 1 o'clock Eastern time. And so I want to get to AT&T by about 8 in the morning before they open at 9 o'clock. Because I'm worried I may not, I want to get the iPhone right when it comes out. And supposedly the new iPhone is supposed to have a better camera. So what I might end up doing at the beginning of my videos is filming myself, talking about with what we're going to talk about in the video, and then jump right into it. I'm thinking about that. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do it. But it's, doesn't hurt to try something. No, go to the tab Eastern Atlantic. Probably referring to 92L. Yeah, okay, so I'll look into that later because I did the spaghetti plot and it downtrended a little bit, so whatever I just showed you is what there actually is. So, because that's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting right now. And this is up to 102 hours out. What? Greg, how are you able to pre-order it? How are you able to pre-order the new phone? I got told I couldn't do it until the Apple event or after the Apple event. What the heck? Oh my gosh, I'm 2 hours into my stream. Okay, I gotta end this. Just a few more. I'm waiting for more people. All right, I'm waiting for Greg to get back. Let's see. Yeah, but Greg, how are you able to pre-order the iPhone so early? I've got to wait for the Apple event, I think. I'm with T-Mobile. What? All right. Okay, that makes sense. All right, Chase. And everybody, I think I'm going to head off. Be sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss my updates on this disturbance. We will be talking about this disturbance in the Gulf tomorrow. And we might need to still, again, we are definitely going to be watching that one in the main development region of the Atlantic. We talked about that tonight. That one could be a problem, or will more likely be some kind of a problem. We don't know how much of a problem yet. That's why you need to stay up to date here on my YouTube channel. And of course, sorry about the clickbait, but not going to change much of that. All right. So share this live stream, like the stream, and ring the bell icon after the stream, and leave a comment after the stream as well to get latest updates. As always, I'm signing off for the night because I need to get up at 6:45 in the morning for church, and I'll be pretty tired, but I'm not going to let the tiredness get in the way of me because we are going to upload another video tomorrow. I'm hoping to have that one out by about 3 or 3:30, hopefully a little sooner. It just depends on what time I get home from church. But I should have a video out tomorrow, most certainly, on the tropics. As always, folks, have a great rest of your night, and I will see you back here later on today if you're in the Eastern time zone, and I'll see you back here tomorrow if you're in the Pacific time zone. All right. Big hug, folks. Big hug. Big hug. Big hug. Love you guys. All right. See you guys.